Good morning. Do I start now? Is everyone already on? Do I start now? Yes. My name is Pat. Yeah?
No, I think we might wait. I'm not sure how many people, but maybe 5 minutes before we start. I think people are still dropping in. Yeah.
I don't see who is already in the call. So please let me know when I can start.
Just another 5 minutes, Patrick, because people are still joining.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I propose to start.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome to this webinar, ladies and gentlemen. It's a webinar about the verification of Payee, or also known as IBAN name check, but this is the official title in the regulation, so that's why we now use this new acronym verification of Payee, or even abbreviated VOP. So I will introduce this webinar, and then I will pass on the word to SurePay, who will give you a presentation about the routing and validation solution. And then, last but not least, Christine will explain what is the role of the SEC for this project. Maybe I should have said that. So I'm speaking in English. You can ask your questions in the chat box in your language, if you like, and then we will process these questions at the end of this webinar. And another thing, this webinar will be recorded. So if you continue, then you agree with this recording. I maybe first a reminder, what is VOP? This is a factor system to reduce fraud in credit transfers, because if you make a credit transfer, you enter, customers do not know that if they complete the name of the beneficiary and the IBAN of the beneficiary, they think that there is a check that banks verify, but that is not true. That is not the case. That is even not possible at the moment of initiation. But with this new tool, there will be some sort of support to check that the name of the beneficiary and IBAN of the beneficiary, they really they match. And how is this done? Before the initiation, before the authorization, there is a request sent from the bank of the payer to the bank of the payee in real time to check that, and then there is a response from this bank with an answer whether there is a match or a mismatch or a close match between the IBAN and the name. Or in some cases, of course, no response if the system is not available. And then the payer decides to authorize or not the credit transfer. And let's see. And takes also the responsibility, so that there is no responsibility at the bank but I will come back to that. So the responsibility to do or not to do this credit transfer remains at the payer side. This we had already a project in Belgium, but in fact the instant payment regulation has made that mandatory. This verification of Payee for all banks and PSPs who offer credit transfers to or from payment accounts. And that's why, in fact, we now organized this second webinar to remind our members who did not yet subscribe to the Belgium interbank solution, but maybe you have subscribed to another solution, but to remind that this is a regulation and that you will have to be ready by 9 October next year. So in 1 year and a month. This is very soon because this is very complex. So I repeat, this webinar is a wake-up call maybe for banks to really start preparations, developments in order to be compliant with its regulation. If you are not compliant, then you can, of course, the supervisor, the national bank or the Ministry of Economy can come ask questions, even sanctions. There can also be penalties. But the main thing is that in this instant payment regulation, if you as a bank did not, as bank of payer or bank of payee, do not comply, and do not fail to offer this VOP, then and there is a fraud. So this means that the customer will not get a response, match, no match, and there is a fraud, then you are liable. In fact, the bank of the payer will have to refund the payer, and the bank of the payer can require the bank of the payee to refund to the bank of the payer. So this is really the risk if you are not compliant by 9 October next year. So the IPR is level 1. In July, the European Commission published a Q&A with some extra clarifications. Many questions, so this is public, you can read that. And by the end of this month, the European Payment Council also will publish some standard rules and in fact, to complete what is not in the IPR, especially with regard to the interoperability at European level. So I have already highlighted the deadline, 9 October next year. And maybe in Belgium, we will try to be ready even before, because there is a lot of expectation from the customers and from the government. But of course, we have to be ready. But I have to also add that there is some. We have to manage expectations. Of course, the fraud will be reduced, and especially invoice fraud. But we know already from other experiences that the fraudsters will look for other gaps in the fraud countermeasures, and they will use probably money mule accounts in countries which are not yet VOP, the non-Euro countries, and later on the non-European countries, and they will also use other modi operandi. Now. Fabelfina is the industry association, but we found, in fact, when there is something very operational, we outsource the project to the SEC, which is the clearing system in Belgium. So we have asked the SEC to set up a project for the Belgian banking community. And I go to the next slide to explain what is the role of the SEC and SurePay. So you have in this slide the complete picture at European level, what will be necessary to make this work. And on the left side, you have the customer, which is bank, the bank of the payer. And this interaction is for all the channels, the web channel, the mobile banking channel, at the counter, the bulk also for corporates. There's only one exception as for paper. The paper which is in the mailbox of the bank and which is scanned, that's the exception. But so you as bank, you have as a bank of the payer, you have to make all your channels compliant with VOP. Then of course you have to send the request to the right side to the bank of the payee, sorry. You have to send the bank to the bank of the payee. So, but to make this interaction possible between thousands of PSPs, with most experts think that it is in theory possible that you send it directly to the bank of the payee, but this seems too complex. And that's why we assume, and certainly in Belgium and in the Netherlands, we have this already, and also in other countries, Italy, for instance, there is we call this a routing and validation mechanism. So there's a mechanism, system, which will do the routing for you to the bank of the PE, and which will do also the validation. We'll come back to that. And often this mechanism will, for instance, in Belgium, contact a routing and validation mechanism, for instance, in the Netherlands or in Italy. So there are many parties involved. And then on the top of this slide, you see EDS, that's the abbreviation of the European Directory Service. This will be a service operated by the European Payment Council, and there you will find for each BIC the endpoint where you will have to send the request to. So that's the general picture, and EPC will publish a rule book, also an API, to make this possible, and they will set up this European Directory Service. And also last, at the right side, you have the Bank of the Payee. The Bank of the Payee, you have to be ready to receive the requests and to respond. With, when you could receive an IBAN and a name, you have to respond with the name which is stored in your customer database. And then you have to do, you can do the matching, but we think, and especially in Belgium, that it is too complex, this algorithm, to do the close matching, and that it is often also outsourced to a central party, a routing and validation mechanism. So that's the complete picture. A complementary system also possible option for banks to complete what I have said about the Bank of the Payee. Often it is too complex for these banks to respond in real time to the other bank, and that's why there's an option also to have a banknote operated by a provider which will respond, which stores all the IBAN and the names of your customers, and which will respond to via the API for you. And this is the banknote. I think for me that is complete. So the main focus of this webinar, I repeat, is there are already a lot of banks who have subscribed to the Belgium solution. But if you don't do that at the Belgium solution, you will have to subscribe to another solution. This is a last call, because this, when you start to analyze, this is really very complex project, and 1 year and 1 month is very short to complete this development. So please, I finished now my presentation. I give the word now to SurePay.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Patrick. I will share my screen. Hopefully you are able to see it. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm not sure how many people are actually listening in. I think I can see a number, but I wouldn't know who is actually listening. So, that should be fine. Yeah. So it's gonna be quite an extensive presentation. So I'll try to keep the speed a little bit. Normally I do this with the whole team, but since I've been so involved with all the Belgian banks that we are already speaking to, I took the liberty of presenting all of the topics myself. So you will see a lot of my face on the slides as well. But just know that there's a whole team backing me up, actually a whole organization backing me up. So let's dive right into it. Quickly about me, as I said, I am the project manager for VOP for the Belgian banks. I've been so since the beginning, so I had a lot of conversation with Belgian banks already. And before that, in my time at SurePay, I also been involved with a lot of Dutch banks and also a lot of UK banks. So I've been around for a while now, and it's always been a pleasure to talk with banks about VOP or confirmation of PE in the UK. So why would you choose to join the ecosystem with the second SurePay? Well, from SurePay side, we are very confident in saying that we have the best connected VOP solution right now. Yes, we know that by next year, cross-border payments will be checked as well, either via EDS or direct connection to schemes. But we've always been a front runner in making sure that the coverage that we can offer to our clients is always the best, and always have the best matching as well, which is rather important, especially in a decentralized scheme. So to have very sufficient and sophisticated matching, it will make sure that your clients, when they're making a payment or when you're responding to an incoming payment, the matching is done in the right way. And at least to minimize the false negatives, because a no match response on your screen is quite intruding, and maybe people will cancel their payment if the matching is not sophisticated enough. But I will show you a little bit later on about that. And one good reason to join the efforts of Second SurePay is that within Belgium, we are also looking to have a uniform customer experience, that all the banks use the same algorithm, that all the banks use the same type of front-end messaging. So clients are not confused when they're using one bank or the other bank, but have a uniform experience with regards to VOP. We at SurePay, we always like to do a little bit more than what is just necessary. So we've been around for quite a while already. And since the beginning, we have looked for additional services on top of, well, back in the day, it's called IBAN name check. And I will also explain a little bit more about that. And of course, maybe even the most important thing right now is that we will make sure that you are live with VOP on time. So you comply with the regulations that are set out. And we hear it from a lot of banks that this is their main concern. IT roadmaps are full, budgets are often already allocated. So to minimize the workload and to make sure that you are implemented on time, it will be very good if you would join the ecosystem, because then we can really speed up. Quickly about SurePay, as I said, we've been around for a while. We started in the Netherlands. We originated from a big bank in the Netherlands, and actually quite soon after other banks joined in 2017. So way before an IPR was introduced, or at least the VOP requirement was introduced. And then we moved to the UK because the regulator over there, they actually mandated a confirmation of Payee. So we've been around in the UK for a while already. And currently, as we speak, we are implementing a lot of banks that need to be live by the end of October this year. So they are a year ahead of the European banks, or the EU banks, I would say, which is very exciting, also very challenging, because timelines are short. But I actually know that maybe some of you that are in the call today are also engaged with the UK branches. So you probably know how difficult it is right now. Then we also made connections to France and Italy in the years after. So there are already schemes that have a similar type of solution. So we made sure that we made a connection with these schemes to increase the coverage for our clients. So you can also check on French and Italian IBANs because that was actually being requested by a lot of our clients. Of course, most of the payments are domestic, but cross-border payments are becoming more and more important because fraud shifts from domestic to cross-border payments. Then in 2022, we made a connection to Swift BAV, which is something that is also included in our offering. And then right here, right now, in 2024, we are engaging with the Belgian banks to make sure that they are compliant with VOP. And besides that, we are also engaging with a lot of other banks because we want to help them out as well in other countries, Luxembourg, Germany, Ireland, Denmark. Of course, the whole of Europe is moving. So we want to be on top of it because we feel like that we have the best solution. And we want to make sure that banks can really help their clients also with VOP. I wouldn't say I will skip over this slide, but we have done a lot of checks already. So more than 7.5 billion. I think last time I checked was close to 8 billion actually. And we have been engaging with over 100 banks right now, and also a lot of corporate businesses, especially in the Netherlands. And we have a great team with a lot of talented and enthusiastic people that really want to make sure that if you're choosing for SharePay to be your RVM for VOP, that you can expect the best service possible. So what's the impact? It's big, especially in the beginning. You can see a big decrease in payment fraud, but also in misdirected payments because people are now being informed whether the name that they're filling out actually belongs to the IBAN, because that's what's essential, right? That's in essence what it does. And also in the UK, we saw a similar decrease in payment fraud, even though it was slightly less, but it also is because of the setup that they have chosen over there. It's slightly different than VOP. Within VOP, we have to check every payment, whereas in the UK, you only have to check when you add a beneficiary to your address book. So the effectivity is slightly less over there. And then for corporates, it helps them to make sure that whenever they are onboarding a client, they can check the IBAN upfront instead of dropping out later in the process, which reduces operational costs quite significantly for them. But that is more for the corporate side. I think Patrick already mentioned it actually. So as soon as we went live with a VOP type of solution in the Netherlands, we saw that the fraud was dropping in domestic payments, but it was increasing for foreign IBANs, simply because fraudsters are very smart, so they know that Dutch IBANs are well protected, and then they start opening bank accounts in other countries, which also explains the need for a European approach, and also to make sure that other countries that are in scope go live with a VOP type of solution as soon as possible, to also prevent fraud within cross-border payments. This is just a little overview of banks that we have been engaging with. So as I said, in the Netherlands and UK, also some banks that have branches in Belgium, so we know them quite well. Hopefully your logo will be up here soon as well, because we are really excited to work with you. The roadmap for Belgium, Fabelfin already announced in 2022 actually that they wanted to have an IBAN name check. That's how we called it back in the day. But it took a little longer before arriving here, of course. So right now we are waiting for the EPC rulebook to be published at the end of this month. But we are already engaging with Belgian banks nonetheless to plan the implementation, to make sure that everyone is aligned on what is required to be compliant with the VOP mandate. And then in 2025, by the end of June, is the ambition for the current members of the SEC to be live with their data so that they can respond to incoming requests, and also to be live with one of their channels for outbound payments. And then, of course, the rest of the countries with the euro also have to be live by 2025, October 9th, from the top of my head. And then in 2027, there's also some other non-euro countries that have to be live by the time. Although we can already see that even though they have a little bit longer, they already start to move because they understand that, of course, you can already prevent fraud right away, right? So if you wait 2 years, it also means there's 2 years and more to commit fraud, IBAN fraud. So what are we actually talking about? This is becoming a little bit more technical, so feel free to ask any questions if anything is unclear. But in essence, this is what we have lined out as the high-level solution. So the payer, they make a payment instruction, they fill out an IBAN and a name. This is sent via bank API gateway, and the check is being sent to the payee bank because we need the data from the payee bank to be able to do the matching. Of course, it can be the same bank, so the payer bank and the payee bank can be the same, but that's not always the case, of course. And then with the data from the payee bank, we do the matching. So within Belgium, SurePay will be mostly on both sides. So we will make sure that the check is being sent to the payee bank, and then on the other side, we also do the matching for the incoming payment. If we do not support the responding bank, it's most likely that we will reach out to them via the European directory services, as Patrick explained, to also make sure that all the banks are being connected. But how do we do the matching? Well, we need your data, that's obvious, and we basically have 2 ways of doing it. We call it a banknote, or within CEC, we call it a banknote, which means that your data is uploaded via an SFTP connection to our database, which is done on a daily basis at least, to be able to respond on an incoming request. Or you can also choose for an API connection. So whenever a check is being sent to your bank, we will send out an API call to you for the data for that specific IBAN. You will respond with the account data and we do the matching. Both of the solutions have its advantages and disadvantages, but I can talk a little bit about it later on as well. So this is in essence the high level solution, right? So whenever a payer makes a payment, this check is being sent to the payee bank. There's a matching engine. Hopefully it's ours. We respond back to the payer bank, and the payer is being instructed in their front end of the bank. So it can either be a match, it can be a close match, or it can be a no match. Oh, there's one extra. Indeed, that's what I said. So the SFTP connection, as we call it, the hosted data, at least a daily data file is required because, well, people open new bank accounts on a daily basis. So we want to make sure that also these newly opened bank accounts are in scope. And of course, also people close their accounts or make changes to their accounts. So we need those updates as well. So this is high over the 3 main name matching results that we have. You have on the left a match, a close match in the middle, and on the right side you can see a no match. I think there's a little, yeah, exactly. So in this case, the name that you filled out is a match, and this is just an example of how you can present it in the front end with a simple check mark. People in the Netherlands are very familiar with the check mark. Whenever I have to explain to my friends what I'm doing, what the company is doing that I work for, I always say we are the green check mark in your online banking environment. It's quite well recognized already. Of course, you can also make it a little bit more elaborate with a message saying the name that you filled out is correct. But at least there should be some type of indication that the name that they filled out is the right one. For a close match, which we call a small typo, you can see that in the beneficiary name, there's one S missing. So you can give back a name suggestion. This is also allowed by the EPC rulebook. Most likely that for personal accounts, you can give back a name suggestion if it's a small typo. It's actually quite an interesting one because, of course, for personal accounts, you never want to disclose more information than the beneficiary or that payer already filled out. So you have to be very smart about this. So you can only give back to the client what they already filled out. But I will touch a little bit more on that later on. And then, of course, the other one is a no match. So the name that you filled out does not belong to the IBAN. And actually, this is the warning message. We can also give back that this account does not belong to Antwerp Food Company, which sounds like a business, but is actually a personal account rather than a business account. So these are the three main name match results that we have. We have a few more, but for this presentation, that's not very relevant right now. I just want to quickly show you how it looks like live. So we have a portal. I have to reshare my screen quickly because it's on a different window. There we go. So what you see here is our portal, which is a service that we launched early last year. It basically allows clients to do a check whenever they feel it's necessary. So it looks like an online banking environment, or at least you can fill out an IBAN and a name, and then you can hit check. And I will use my own IBAN because I am not allowed to use any other personal IBANs from my colleagues or so. They have to give me consent to do so. So this is my IBAN and this is my name. So if I hit check, then it's actually a match. So there's a little bit more information on the right hand side. I will go over it in a bit, but you can see that the match is the input was correct, and it's also matched on verified data. So verified data by the bank. We receive the account data from this particular bank to be able to do the matching. On the right hand side, you see a little bit more. This is also what we call with what we mean by the best solution. So we feel like we can give more information to the client to be able to make the right decision. Some of these are in scope for the Belgium solution, which we have discussed already with the other banks. Let me quickly go over it. This is a very important piece of information. This is the account status, which basically indicates whether the account can still receive money or whether money can be debited from this account. It can also be inactive. So I can close my account, I can close my bank account, and then it will show as inactive, which is a very useful response to also use in the VUP. It's good to mention that this is not in scope of the EPC rulebook, but we are allowed to have this as an additional optional service. We have done so in the Netherlands for 8 years now, and we also suggested to the Belgian banks to use this because it's a very important piece of information that can help payers make the right decision when they are making a payment. So imagine if you would not use this type of information and the bank account was inactive and you make a payment, it will bounce, and there's actually quite a lot of operational costs involved as well to settle that payment afterwards. So if you can inform a client that the account is inactive, they will not continue with their payment, and it actually saves a lot of time and money. We can also give back the account holder type. So this is a personal account, and if I would make a payment to, for example, SurePay's IBAN, it will say a business account or an organization account. There's only one account holder, and it's not a joint account. So this is a little bit more of the information that we give back on the IBAN name check. Well, let's make a small typo because that's the close match. So you can see that there's only one letter missing. So that's why it results in a close match. We give back a name suggestion. You can actually click on it and it's automatically being checked. But let's, for example, put SurePay's name. You can see that in case of a no match, there's no name suggestion given for personal account because we cannot disclose a personal name because of GDPR. That makes sense because you cannot just disclose someone's name. But at least there's a very clear indication that it's a no match. So this is also something that you have to do in a front end because the rulebook also indicates that you have to inform the client of the outcome of the VOP check, right? So they have to be properly informed to make the right decision when making a payment. Let me quickly go over to a business account, and namely the IBAN for SurePay, which is this one. So this is of course a match, and you can also see that the account holder type is now a business. So what happens if I fill out my own name now? Because this is actually quite interesting. Even though it's a no match right now, we can give back a name suggestion. Again, within the EPC rulebook, this is not covered. So they say you can never give back a name suggestion in case of a no match. However, again, we can file for an additional optional service to be able to give back the legal name of the business in case of a no match. And the reason for this is that it actually allows clients to make a better judgment whether they want to proceed with the payment. They might know the owner of the business and they fill out the owner's name, but that's actually not the legal name of the business, and it results in a no match. Well, normally a no match should indicate that you should not proceed with the payment. So actually a lot of payments will be cut off if you have a lot of no matches. So we always say that we can inform clients with the legal name. It's publicly available information, and it actually allows clients to make a better call on whether they want to proceed with the payment, yes or no. At the right top, you see also that there's a file check opportunity or a possibility. Basically, this allows you to drag and drop an Excel file with multiple checks in it and to receive the results for this. I'm not going to demo this right now because there's a lot to cover still, but this is also a possible solution for the batch payment flow that banks have, which I will discuss a little bit later. I don't think there are any questions so far, so I will just continue talking. I know I have still 15 minutes left, so it sounds a lot, but there's still a lot to cover as well. I have to go back to my presentation. Let me share my right screen. This one. Yeah, so what else do we do? Well, what we also do is that we make connections with other databases. In the Netherlands, we have a connection with the KVK database, which is the Chamber of Commerce, which allows us to get all the commercial names for legal entities. We did an analysis soon after we went live with the solution in the Netherlands, and we saw that actually a lot of payments are being made to trading names. So not to the legal name, but to the trading names. But banks themselves did not always have the trading names in their account data. So that's when we decided to make a connection with the Chamber of Commerce, because that's where the trading names are being registered. And we will do the same for Belgium with the KBO database. We are investigating whether the quality of the data and whether the availability of the data is of the right level. But we are engaging with them to also make a connection to boost the performance of the matching on business accounts. What we also have right now is extended reach data, which is basically covering a lot of foreign IBANs that we don't have data directly from the banks. But as you can imagine, people are making payments to foreign accounts that are not covered in VOP right now. So we want to inform them as good as possible if we have enough data on these accounts to inform them already right now, even though they are not connected to VOP yet. So we try to boost the performance with additional data sources. And as I said, the main part is the KBO. They have been very helpful already, so I think this will be covered in the SEC solution, CAC solution as well. There are some other things that we can do. We have a use case of factoring or data overrides. For example, when you, as a business, you want to make sure that your invoices are being paid on time, so you can use a factoring company to do so. Basically, you the IBAN that you want to check belongs to the factoring company, but if I want to make a payment to that IBAN, I want to see the name of the business using that factoring company instead of the name of the factoring company, because otherwise it might cause some confusion. So we have contracts with these factoring companies that show the name of the businesses that they help to be connected to the right IBAN. There are also use cases in Belgium that we know of. So we can help to cover these use cases as well, and especially to make sure that the customer experience with regards to making payments to these type of IBANs is well enough as well. I think that's it for this one. As I already said, that we have the best connected VOP solution already. So we route our traffic based on a few identifiers. So if we know it's a French IBAN, we redirect it to our French partner SEPA If we know it's an Italian IBAN, we reroute it to our partners in Italy, CBI. And also we have the Swift BAV. So for banks outside of Europe, outside the VOP scope, we can also connect you to banks that are connected to the Swift BAV solution. Of course, there's also the confirmation of Payee in the UK. They have not allowed for traffic towards that scheme yet, but they will probably soon do so, especially because VOP is taking off as well. So we will make sure that these connections are always available to you. So we will make sure that you have one endpoint to do your calls, and we will route it to the relevant scheme. And then, of course, next year, when the European directory service is live, we will also make sure that you are connected in that European directory service, so you can actually reach all the banks that are in scope of the VOP mandate. We also allow for some additional services. There's 3 in here, but I want to cover 2 right now. The first is the fraud risk indicator. We actually have quite some banks that use the additional data points in their transaction monitoring. So as far as I know, transaction monitoring is a lot of based on business rules. So the more data we can give banks to make the right judgment call, whether they want to allow a payment, yes or no, the better. And actually, there was a big decrease in false negatives, which is rather positive when a bank started to use this solution. So there's the account type, which is business or personal. There's a start date of the account, which basically indicates how long ago was this account opened. And there's also the account type. Is it a savings account? Is it a payments account? So all these data fields we can make available to the bank to be able to use them in a transaction monitoring environment. And it's good to know that we have been engaging with the fraud sys committee within Belgium. So it's actually a committee from Fabelfin to see whether the fraud risk indicator can also be used by all the Belgian banks. And we of course are happy to do so. We are also connecting to external data sources. For example, we are in talks with the national police. They also have their own databases of fraudulent IBANs. So we also want to make sure that if an IBAN is actually in the database, we can flag it to the bank so they can make a better decision on whether allowing payments to and from that account. The other one is the switch check. It's something that we do in the Netherlands and also in the UK actually. So people switch accounts not that often, but they still do. And we can actually indicate if someone changed their IBAN. So when you're making a payment to the old IBAN, we can inform you that the account holder actually is starting to use a new IBAN. So you can update your information in your contact list. So this could be a possible scenario or possible front-end message that Anneke Peters has switched to another account, and this is the new IBAN which you can approve to be updated in your contact list. This is something that is a service that all the banks in the Netherlands at least support. I'm not totally aware of the situation in Belgium, but basically they allow to switch bank accounts, and then that data is being pushed to SurePay to be used in the VOP check. Of course, we understand that it's really important for banks to have control over what happens with the VOP. It's rather new, it's rather complex, it takes time to implement. So we have a management information dashboard that allows you to see how many checks have been conducted over the past time. What was the availability of the service, the pass rate. This is an example of a dashboard that we use within our current client portfolio. And it can be adapted to your needs. So if you need more information, we can make sure that you have this information as well. All right, this is the most interesting part, or at least the most challenging part, judging from the conversations that I had with banks, the batch payment processing. So as you well know, the VOP check needs to be conducted for every payment, single payments and batch payments, and the last one is the most challenging for banks, which makes sense. The processing of batch payments is rather complex, so to add another step within that process, it can be very complex and also actually too complex. But we have set out a few options to help banks comply with the mandate and the regulation. First of all, maybe straightforward, is that we have an API for checking batch payments. So the most common type of files, of course, the Payee 001 file. So whenever someone uploads a Payee file to the online banking environment, which can be different based per bank, but then the batch file is being checked for VOP. So then there's different routes that you can take. You can either inform the client of the outcomes of the results and proceed with all the matches, but at least we have an API ready to be integrated within your batch payment flow in online banking. But this is quite a complex integration as far as we hear from the bank so far. But this is probably it offers the best customer experience, I would say, because it's within the same flow, but it is a new step. So you need to inform your clients on this extra step as well. So it's basically an API. Whenever someone uploads a Payee file, it's being checked and the responses are being fed back to the client, and then they can make a decision where they want to proceed and sign the batch file to be sent out, or they have to update some information within that Payee file because there's a lot of no matches, for example, within that Payee file. What you can also do is that for smaller batches, you can basically split them up in single checks. This is what a client of ours already does. So batch payments of, I don't know, 50 to 100, I think is quite common. Small batches are very common. So you can basically split it up and use the single check API for this. This is also a solution that is rather feasible. And then on the left side, we basically have an option to decouple the VOP check from the batch payment flow. As you noticed, the portal that I just showed also has a file check opportunity or possibility, and we are also going to support uploading Payee files within that portal. So what you can do is, rather than integrate an API within the current flow, you can give clients the possibility to upload and check their batch payments files before uploading it into the banking system. So basically, you can either use our portal, our SurePay branded portal, or you can white label it with your name on it. I think there's an example in the next slide. And you redirect clients to that environment to do the VOP check, and then they can prepare the file for actual processing. There's also another possibility, which is still a little bit under discussion whether it is in scope of the IPR, yes or no. But we also have a corporate API. In the Netherlands, it's widely used by a lot of companies. Basically, they are checking their database before the IBAN, before it enters the database. So for example, when I file for an insurance with an insurance company in the Netherlands, my IBAN is checked before they allow me as a client. So you already know when the data enters the system, it's the correct data. And then you can also safely say that when you make a payment to that IBAN, it's also directed to the right person. So to quickly summarize it, on the right-hand side, this is integrated within your flow. So either an API for the batch payment, or you split it up in multiple single checks. And on the left-hand side, you basically decouple the VOP requirement for batch payments from your current flow, but you allow clients to check it themselves, which has also some legal implications. It's too complex to talk about it right now. But you have to, of course, make sure that clients actually do the check, because you are liable to actually provide this service to banks. This is an old slide I can see. I will skip over this. I thought I moved it. Another important topic is, of course, the commercial model. So how much does it cost? We have a contract with CEC, and we came to this price. Normally, the tiers on the right-hand side are going up a little bit higher, but we knew that the banks in this call have rather small volumes within the Belgian community. But of course, if you're interested about the rest of the tiering list, you can ask for it. So it's basically check based. So we count the checks that your clients do. So when I make a payment, that counts as a check. And then you can see the price is based per month. So normally we start with tier 1, but if there's such low volumes per month, so lower than 100,000, we also have a tier 0 introduced, but this needs approval from both CEC and SurePay. For this price, you get the single service and the data hosting per month. And then there's also a separate tier for the batch service. The volumes are aggregated. So if you have multiple branches in multiple countries and you connect with SurePay for all these branches, the volumes that you do are aggregated, and then it might be that you are in a higher tier. But know that we allow for this aggregation of volume. At the end of this slide, there's my colleague, which is the commercial point of contact for VOP. He can very well describe how this works. But I try to keep it simple. This is the running fee that you can expect if you want to have the single service API and the batch service. And then these are the prices for the tiers. There are also some implementation costs because it requires some work to set you up for VOP. So the requesting side has a one-off cost, and also the bank node or the data provisioning side. And depending on the solution that you're choosing, it's either this price or a slightly lower price. For example, if you choose for a API connection for data provisioning, it requires a little bit more work on our end, so that's why the price is higher, whereas the SFTP connection is a little bit more simple to set up with you. But of course, we are happy to accommodate for both. Not unimportant is the security of our solution. We are very, very well aware that a lot of banks have high security standards, especially when it comes to sharing account data. But also just the service itself is always secured with the highest standards. So we use AWS. The region that we use is Ireland in Europe. We have multiple availability zones, which allows us to, in case of high volumes entering a system, that we can effectively scale the solution so the processing times remain the same. There's some more information on this slide, which is rather technical. We use Java, but that is not really my knowledge per se. On this slide, there's a lot of information, but we are being audited every year, and we are ISAE 3000 certified, which is based on ISO 27001. And as opposed to ISO 27001, this type of certification actually monitors us on a more frequent basis. So it's not that you can pass the check once a year and then you're good to go. Now, within this attestation, we are constantly being monitored if we still adhere to the highest security standards. I will share this slide deck with you afterwards as well, so you can read everything that is on this slide. But at least know that we always have the highest security standards because we do understand that this is required by you. On that note, we already engaged with Enviso, which is a auditing company. So they compiled an extensive due diligence report on third-party security risks. And I think as soon as you decide to go with the CAC solution and with SurePay as your RVM, you can use this report to cover any due diligence needs as well. They also conducted a DORA gap analysis, which is a rather important topic for banks as well. And with all the applications that we use, for example, the portal that you just saw, there's also an application security questionnaire being conducted, and also the results are available for you. I would say last but not least, this is normally my my responsibility, the implementation. So we have done already quite a few things with the Belgian banks that already joined the ecosystem. So at first we actually conducted, I think, 5 or 6, maybe even 7 workshops to have a shared understanding about the approach for Belgian banks. There were a few options that we provided to them, and they made a decision. So we have thought about it a lot. Because we wanted to tailor fit our solution to the Belgian industry, which is rather different than the Dutch industry, for example. For example, there's multiple languages that need to be supported, which is was a very complex challenge, but I think we came to a very nice solution for that. And of course, also if you join because you were not there within the initial workshops, we are happy to accommodate a session to discuss what VOP is all about, to show you what you can expect in a more detailed way. But know that there's already a lot of information being shared, and I think we are definitely on the right track. So after the workshop phase is closed, we start developing, which we will soon do with the Belgian banks. We are going to start as soon as the EPC has published their rulebook, because then we know what how the APIs will look like. Normally, our development with the banks are an iterative approach, so it's not like we check in once at the beginning and then we give the specifications. No, we have recurring meetings, we have recurring check-in moments with the banks to make sure that everything is on track, because we know that the timelines are rather short, even though we still have a year and a month. It passes by rather quickly. And what we normally do as well is that we have shared communication channels with the banks. For example, Slack or Teams, that if you have a question, you can just send it and we can respond rather quickly to it instead of waiting for the next meeting, or sometimes it's also way faster than emailing. Testing and acceptance, which is a very important phase because it's a new solution for the Belgian industry. So we want to make sure that everything is well coordinated. We have a very thorough testing plan for this. We have our sandbox environment available for all the banks that they can use to set everything up. And then there's a full go live plan when we are ready to move to production. We have done this with a lot of banks already, but we know that every bank has its own needs, and we are happy to accommodate to these needs. And as soon as there is a go live moment, we enter a phase of, we call it hypercare. So we closely monitor the traffic as soon as you go live to see if everything is according to expectations, and if it's not, then we can quickly reiterate to see how we can solve the issue. But you also, with the dashboard that we will provide to you, you can also track the traffic yourself, so you are fully in control and you can see what we can see as well. And well, A little bit later, we enter business as usual. So if the service is operational and you are connected to other banks, you are connected to the EDS, so the European Directory Service. Basically, clients of yours can make VOP checks to all the banks in scope of the VOP mandate. Then we enter business as usual, which is of course still far out. But then afterwards, we have regular meetings with you to discuss the operational performance of the service and to also inform you of any changes or updates or maybe new solutions that we also have. So to go a little bit more in detail about the remaining year, basically, so from now up till the 9th of October 2025, we are about here on the left-hand side. The top side of the slide is basically what we can expect from the European Payment Council. So that's the regulatory body. They will publish their final specifications in September. We believe it's going to be at the end of this month. And then we can finalize our specifications of our APIs and data provisioning solutions as well. So that's also what you can expect from us. So we have draft specifications right now to be shared with you, but we can make them final as soon as we have all the information from the EPC. So that's what will happen probably in the first half of October. And then rather soon after, we want to allow you to start testing. Even though you might only want to go live next year, we want to have a testing environment available for you that your developers can already start testing right away. And yes, there are different implementations. So there's the single check, there's the batch check, and then there's the data hosting solution. So for each of those services, we will have a test environment available for you, which follows after the final rulebook as well. On the top, you can also see the EDS. So again, the European Directory Service is basically a directory where all the European banks are being registered. So if we have to route a check to, for example, a bank in Austria, we can look it up in the EDS, what is the endpoint for the specific bank, and route the check to that endpoint to make sure that we get a response from that bank. However, the EDS is only going to be designed and developed in Q1, Q2 next year. And at the end of Q2 next year, it's open for testing. So we expect a full go live of the EDS very close to the VOP deadline. So we believe it's going to be early October next year. So full coverage in the whole of Europe is only being achieved in October 2025. However, what we will do as SurePay, because we are connected to already a lot of banks, is that we already will connect you to all of the banks that are within our ecosystem, and possibly also to other schemes like France and Italy, to make sure that already as soon as you go live, you have wider coverage than just domestic payments. I think I included this slide again in this presentation because I just want to say that for each of this bank that you can see on the slide, there was, of course, their own specifics. They either want to have a daily meeting, a weekly meeting, or just a monthly meeting. But we know that there are exceptions, and we are very well aware of that. And we just want to coordinate with you what works best for you. We have been able to integrate all of these banks, so I'm very confident in saying that we can help you as well, becoming compliant before the 9th of October next year. To summarize, and then we have also some time for questions and answers, hopefully. So we have the best connected VOP right now, and we also will make sure that you have coverage in as much as possible as soon as you go live, even though the EDS might not be up and running yet. Our matching algorithm is very sophisticated, so we have a matching algorithm that allows for the best matches, which means that we don't give back too many no matches, we don't give back too many matches. It's very sophisticated, and it allows for the best customer experience for your clients. And then a big reason why you should join the CEC solution with SurePay is that you have a uniform client experience to all your Belgian clients. So they can expect the same type of responses if they make a check to another Belgian bank. We have multiple services included, so connections with Swift BAV, for example, it's all within the same offering, but most of all, we will make sure that you are implemented on time, even though you might not have started yet. A year and a month we still have, and we are very confident. I think I said it already 5 times now, but that we can help you to be compliant with the regulation before 9th of October next year. And as I said in the beginning, I definitely do not do this on my own. Luckily not. We have a very enthusiastic team with more than 80 employees, one of which is my colleague Stefan. And as I said, if you want to know more about the commercial, if you want to reach out to join the solution, feel free to contact him, especially because I will be on holiday for the coming 3 weeks. I think that's it for me. I think I will hand it back first to Christine, because she wants to say a couple of words as well. And then I think we still have some time for any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you, Florian, for this good overview. I hope it you all had the information you were looking for. Basically, what I want to do is to zoom a little bit into the role of SEC in this exercise. So basically, SEC was asked by Fabelfin to come up with a solution, and we will act as an agent for the participants that choose for the Belgian VOP solution. So as you know, we conducted a whole RFP. We came up with the best, what we think is the best solution in the European market. It proved to be SurePay. Actually, we do have already 15 institutions that signed an engagement agreement. 13 banks, Bpost and Isabel. And with these banks, we cover already 80 to 85% of the retail payments in the Belgian market. So as explained by Florian, while we need to be compliant by October 25, we asked our participants to respond already to the VOP requests and to send VOP requests via at least one channel by June 25, so that, yes, we can be reassured that we will have the system running smoothly by October 25, and explained by Florian, in October, the reach to the rest of Europe will also be made available. So basically, we have been discussing the whole setup with SurePay, and we are in the phase of setting up the whole contractual framework. Basically, we will contract with SurePay with respect what we might call the procurement terms for the Belgian community. Each of the participating banks or PSPs will sign a contract with SurePay, and this contract will consist of an MSA, a master agreement, and a service order. And in the MSA, you will also find specific schedules referring to the contract between SEC and SurePay, but also to the contract between SEC and yourselves, the participants. So this is basically the contract setup as we have defined it with SurePay. So there is this agreement between SurePay and the customer, supplemented by the schedules and service order. We have an agreement between SEC and SurePay, and this template is added as Schedule 1 into the contract. And then we have an agreement between SEC and the customer, and this template is also in the MSA as Schedule 2. To give you an idea what role we might take up in here, apart from negotiating the contract and the pricing, basically we will act as a first contact between SurePay and the Belgian community, except for except for matters which are specific to the customer only, sorry. We will organize periodic meetings with the community. So if there are topics of general interest that you would like to share with the other participants, it's something that we can coordinate and go with one voice to SurePay, where we will represent the PSPs during meetings where operational, strategic, or tactical matters can be discussed. We will, of course, share any plans, reports, results, notifications, or requests from SurePay with the community. And we will, yes, discuss any changes that might come up from the community. So basically, it's a little bit the role that we actually also perform in relation to the clearing activities. Further to that, we will also be the contact point for audits. So there will be an audit right for the community, and we will organize this together with SurePay. We will coordinate the follow-up of any incidents. We will monitor the service level specifications. We will see that there will be an exit plan and a termination assistance plan. The DRP needs to be tested on a yearly basis. Of course, we will not test it. We will not be involved in the testing, but we will be there to see that it is done on a yearly basis. And in case of any disagreement, which we would not expect to be there, but we might act as a mediator between SurePay and the customer. So basically, that's a little bit the role that you can expect from SEC. But more than this, what I also wanted to share with you was, why would you join the Belgian solution? And I think Florian already addressed this to a certain extent. We decided to go for a centralized matching, meaning that the same matching tool will be used by all of the participants, and it will be organized on a centralized basis. So it will not be implemented with the banks, as for example in the UK, where what you see is that the result of the matching algorithm is different depending on the bank that you are using. So basically, we really wanted to go for a same experience for the customers in the Belgian market, and we also think that it's more efficient to organize this on a centralized way. The centralized, we not only are a matching organization in this case, but also a routing, so what I call a centralized matching and routing system. And so basically, we will send and respond the VOP requests all over Europe, not only between the Belgian banking community. I think it's also important, as explained, that we have gone for high availability and low latency in responding, because don't underestimate a VOP request has to be done in some milliseconds. And so basically, we wanted to provide two solutions to support our banks in the best possibility. So basically, either you can host your data centrally. So in terms of responding, this is something that's taken care of by SurePay, or you can of course still respond in real time. But then of course the only system on your systems to be able to respond very quickly. I think what's important with the solution here also is that we did go for the extended data set. So on top of the data that are strictly required by EPR, we will use some extra data, as already indicated by Florian. For example, is this a business account or a personal account? Is the account active or not active? And this might in turn allow us to use extra services in combating fraud. For example, the fraud risk indicator, which is an optional service. But we already want to foresee the data to be available upfront, so that might more quickly come on board for these services in a later phase. And then, of course, the pricing that we discussed with SurePay is based on the Belgian volumes and not on the individual volumes of one single bank. So we think there are a lot of reasons why it's certainly something that you should consider to join the Belgian solution rather than to go on your own onto the market. All the information that we have regarding the solution, the information from SurePay, but also with regard to the contracting, will be published on the SharePoint of SEC. It's already there. The SharePoint is, of course, addressable for the participants to the system. But before, well, we will of course now give you the possibility to ask any questions. I don't think we already had questions into the Q&A, but in case your questions only come after the session, you can always contact support@secbelgium.be. Okay, I see here some pricing. Yes, publish here. So this question, is the pricing grid also applicable for Isabel-initiated payments? Is this one published there, Erwin? Sorry. Yes. Yes, the same pricing grids will be used for the Isabel payments. So Isabel is part of the deal that we have been making with SurePay. And then there's a question, maybe Florian, one for you to answer. Why is there a match as only part of the name has been provided? For example, initials, surname.
I didn't see this question when I was doing the demo. Apologies. So we can give a match on multiple inputs. So for example, for personal account, we are also allowed to give a match on just the last name. However, the EPC is also providing some guidelines on what is allowed and what's not allowed. For example, some bank accounts only have initials and not a full name. So also just initials and a last name should result in a match. But what we will do is that we will combine our experience with regards to the matching together with what the EPC sets out as the minimal requirements to be a match. And then we make sure that it's as flexible as it can be, basically. But within the Netherlands right now, our current solution allows for a full match on just the last name because sometimes payers don't really know the first name. And then it becomes a little bit more difficult to come to a match. Yeah. But I'm sure that as soon as the rulebook is out, we can show a little bit more in terms of examples. What should be a match or what should be a close match, etc.
Okay, so basically in terms of next steps, if this presentation was tempting to you and you're interested to join the Belgian solution, please reach out to us and we can go together with you to see what are the next steps to be fulfilled. Again, today we are working with the banks based on an engagement agreement, but we hope that the whole contractual setup will be available by the end of September. So basically, then we can already start working on the basis of the final contract. I don't know whether there would be any questions for us at this point in time.
I think what I wanted to say still is that we know that there's, or I cannot see the exact participants of this webinar, but based on the registration list, we recognized a few names from other countries like the UK. Feel free to reach out to us in that way as well, and then we will coordinate the conversation with SEC to get everyone together. But if you, for example, know a different colleague of mine from the UK, it's also okay to reach out to them, and then we make sure that you're getting contact with SEC as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have a good working
exactly.
Conversation. Okay, so then I propose to close the meeting here with. So basically, the meeting was recorded, so this will be sent to you afterwards. In case of any questions, please reach out to us, and I hope to see you or hear you all very soon. And wish you a nice day. Bye.